last time I recorded on my computer and nothing ever recorded. So it didn't work very well. So, hey, Derek, thanks for joining. Why don't you just tell everybody a little bit more about your bio and stuff, and we'll start from there, and I'll let you share the screen after.
Yep. So, yeah, thank you for the intro. Yep, my name is Derek McLean. 25 years old, from Chicago. I originally got started in Amazon because I wanted to be a seller. I started with my first private label product that did not go so well, but I stuck with it. I launched a second one and that went very well. So that kind of just showed me that like this whole Amazon thing does work and it can work. After that, I got the opportunity to work in Singapore for an e-commerce company. They mostly sold in the US. They were just Singapore based. Their founders was Australian and German, and they would sell like beauty products, health products, very much in the women's health and beauty niche. Some of them you may be seeing them. There was like Skinny Mint Detox, Coco and Eve, and Body Boss, a fitness guide. So I got to learn under their founder, both of their founders who were like just super smart. They did a lot of Facebook ads. I just kind of learned how like successful e-commerce agencies are run. After that, after in Singapore, I got 2 more jobs in Chicago, being a PPC manager for as seen on TV products. So like you see those corny late night commercials like buy this ShamWow. I was the guy managing those like PPC ads on Google and Amazon. And then I got the opportunity to work on bigger accounts at Starcom for like Oscar Mayer and Kellogg. So managing, your favorite little late night snacks, Pop-Tarts, Rice Krispie treats. So just managing those on Amazon, Bing, Google, Criteo, Pinterest as well. So pretty much all search. So that's kind of my background. And I hope I can provide some value for you guys and share more about Amazon and PPC ads.
Cool. Yeah, do you want, let's see something here. I think I can allow question. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you should be able to share now, I think, and if you can.
Share screen.
Yeah.
Okay, I should be sharing. And you guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Let me minimize this. Okay. So Amazon PPC tips, I'm just going to go through 5 tips. I tried to make them like a kind of beginner friendly, but hopefully I can dive in a little bit more for people who are more experienced. But yeah, at the end I'll have questions, but if there's something that you want me to call out or expand on, feel free just to ask away. Okay, and how do I go to the next slide? Oh, just click. Okay, so the 5 tips that I'm going to go over. The first one, I'm going to talk about adding negatives early. The next one, I'm going to talk about looking back longer, kind of like your attribution window, how testing everything and different placements, integrating all the match types, and building your brand keywords. So my first tip is adding negatives early. In this chart below, for those of you guys don't know what negative keywords are in the first place, but most of Amazon's advertising is keyword based. This means that you're basically spending money for Amazon to show your product for a specific keyword or set of keywords. You can freely choose this as you want. You can also kind of pick them and have Amazon expand on them, where to show them, and kind of so on and so forth. It's a very common bidding strategy where you pay per click. So if someone views your product, but they don't buy it, you're not going to pay anything. But if someone sees your product based on what they search, they click on the ad, you're going to be charged anywhere from like 20 cents for competitive products, it could be dollars. So you have different match types, obviously exact and phrase. So for those of you don't know, like exact match type is the exact keyword phrase that the customer searches. So in this example, it would be boy shoes or a very close variation. So boy shoes or boy shoe or apostrophe s, those close variations for an exact match. A phrase match would be something like blue boy shoes. So anything that has boy shoes but has another keyword along with it. So what a negative will do is you're basically telling Amazon to not show your ad for a certain keyword. And where this is valuable to add early and often is if, let's say, I sell boys' shoes, but I know my shoes are for athletes, for male athletes, I can negate the keyword girl shoes, so my product will never show for girls' shoes. So that way I'm not wasting money every time a customer on Amazon sees the ad and just clicks for no reason. It's really important to add these early because once you start getting data meaning once you start seeing what keywords perform for your ads, you're going to see what keywords don't perform for your ads. And by negating that, you are going to basically take away all the wasted spend, all that learning, all that data that you need to see to figure out if your keyword is profitable or not. You want to get that as early on as possible, and you want to eliminate that wasted keyword spend as early and often as possible. That way you can take the profitable keywords and build off those. So it's extremely important you can even go as far as adding these before you create your campaign. In my experience, I've had campaigns where I got lazy and keywords that I pretty much knew than what negatives should be, I didn't add them, and it ended up spending a lot of money and just driving up your ACoS. So it's very important to add these keywords early and often because basically these are just going to save you money. Also, not only in saving money, negative keywords can be very useful for grouping products together. So for example, on Kellogg's, when we would want to group our products for our brand name products or brand name searches that customer had, and also just generic searches for what customer had. So for example, we wanted all of our, let's say the product is Rice Krispie treats. We wanted all of our Rice Krispie treats to go to our brand Rice Krispie treats campaign. So the way we could do that is by negating the word Rice Krispie treats in our non-brand campaigns. That way, whenever someone searched for the brand name Rice Krispie treats, it would always go to the brand campaign and never in the non-brand. So it's just, not only does it save you money, it really helps with organizing your campaigns and ad groups and just keywords in general. The next tip is look back longer. And what I mean by this, Amazon, they have a 7-day click attribution window. And what this means is 7 days after someone clicks on your ad, they could buy your product. It may not show in the dashboard. So you could be making optimizations today thinking, oh, this product wasted so much money. It didn't convert at all. I'm going to pause the product. And 7 days later, Amazon could show you that you had 20 sales or whatever. It might not always happen like that, but it is possible. So you want to look back longer, look back 7 days, look back last week, 30 days. You want to look back longer so you can have a much more accurate idea of what your real sales and conversion rates are like. Because if you're looking every minute of every hour or every day, Amazon's data is going to take a while to catch up. Sometimes people click on a product and they come back later and then buy. So how can you accurately optimize your campaigns before Amazon is even giving you the full picture of data? So you really want to look back at the longer scale and make almost smaller adjustments in the shorter frame. Increase bids maybe by 10% or 20% or 5%. You don't want to just shut things off drastically or drastically increase them because you really want to see accurately. And that's just for sponsored products, which is the most popular way to advertise. There's sponsored brands, which is even longer. So imagine trying to optimize when you have 14 days of history that you don't even know yet. So that's just a really important tip. And that's something that I even find myself having to really do more because I always want to make adjustments and optimizations immediately, but you just have to be patient and just make them slowly and incrementally. The next tip is kind of a broad one, but test everything. But what I mean by this is there's different keyword match types, there's different placements you can advertise on, and there's even different like advertising products like sponsored brands and even DSP. So you really want to test everything when it comes to advertising because you really don't know how it will react. What you think will work may not, and what you don't know will work maybe works extremely well and ends up driving tons of sales. Here's just a chart from a brand that I've worked on where, you know, performance, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to dip, but that's kind of just the testing process. And the ACOS is really good, but you're seeing this window of a good performance, but we were able to get this by testing way months in advance over and over again, different match types, different looking at all the data, conversion rates, and just really playing around and tweaking with your ads. So definitely you want to test your match types, your placements, your bids, your negative keywords, your campaigns, your ad groups. There's so much you can test, and it's the only way you can find answers to your questions. So even testing your listing itself, swapping out keywords, seeing how that affects your conversion rate, testing your main image. So just really testing everything and making educated decisions based on the data that you're collecting. The next tip, kind of similar to test everything, is integrate all match types. What I like to do is I usually start with exact and phrase. And that's because these match types are much more specific and granular as a broad match. But what you want to end up doing is hopefully taking these exact matches that are converting really well and put those into phrase. And then once those phrases are converting really well, also make it a broad. So especially with keywords that convert very well, you want to have as much exposure for those keywords as possible. And the only way you can get as much exposure for a keyword is by adding variations of that keyword and adding all three match types. That way, for this example, if you're selling a blue scarf, you're going to be showing up for blue scarf for women, scarf in blue color, blue scarves. You want to, and that's the caveat is if the keyword converts well, you want to have just as much eyes on your product for that keyword as possible. A lot of sellers, maybe they get scared off by like a broad match because it's can show up for a lot of different things. Like for women, you may not want to show up for that, but that's kind of goes back to my first point is by adding in your negatives. So you can really maximize broad without the not craziness, but without the quote unquote broadness of the word by using those negatives in there. So you kind of have to have a very delicate strategy with them, but you really want to incorporate all three, just incorporate all three and build off what already works within the same keyword. My next tip, I guess my final tip is I think this is one of the most important ones, and that'll be building your brand keywords. And what I mean by this, a lot of sellers they start on Amazon just more trying to generate like cash flow, like just profits, and that's all good and that's very good. But the most money and is in building a real brand. And brand keywords, what I mean by that is when people are literally searching for your specific brand name. So people specifically want Pop-Tarts, not just a breakfast pastry snack. That's the difference. And the reason you want to build your brand keywords the most is because advertising on those keywords is always going to be the cheapest for you because there's
Derek,
yes.
Derek, can you shrink this slide? Because I think we only see, it seems like it's not fitting in the screen. Yeah. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. If you come up, yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll just leave it. I'll leave it like this. Okay. So yeah, you want to focus on building your brand keywords, and the way you build your brand keywords is by building your brand. So that can be, there's thousands of ways to build your brand. Facebook ads, Facebook groups, just word of mouth. There's so many ways to do that, but you always want to build your brand keywords. And even what I like to do as a tip is I always have my brand keywords in a separate campaign, because that is like your most important keywords almost, and your cheapest. So you want to make sure you're owning that, and your budget should almost be unlimited for your branded keywords, because those are people specifically looking for your products. And if you're not owning those keywords, someone else will be, because like we just went over the different match types, customers or Amazon will show other people's ads who are similar on those keywords. So you really just want to build your brand out, own those keywords, put those in their own separate campaign, and just make sure you're always bidding the most, especially if it's profitable, which it should be because you're looking for your product. But just make sure you're really owning your branded. And yeah, I just can't elaborate enough how important this is, because with PPC costs, it's going to be kind of dependent on the market, the free market per se, but your brand is kind of dependent on your reputation and your effort in building it. So you don't want to just have to rely on selling, for example, cereal, because if that was your keyword, because so many competitors are going to be advertising on the word cereal. You want them looking for your specific cereal, your brand name, and building that customer relationship and that long-term revenue, especially when people have replenishable products or products that you can buy more than once. You're going to make so much more money and revenue in the lifetime value of your customer, and that lifetime value comes from your brand loyalty. So you really just want to think of it as a long-term game and a long-term picture. How many times can you get a customer to buy and rebuy and rebuy and rebuy your product for a long time? And that's even kind of like Amazon's strategy with Amazon Prime. Anyone can afford Amazon Prime, but for $15 a month, but you multiply that $15 a month or whatever over 5, 10, 20, 30 years, that's a lot of money. So you kind of have that same mentality when building your brand. You want them to be buying from you forever. So those are kind of my main tips. I hope I didn't go too fast or too slow, but yeah, feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Again, my name is Derek McLean. If you want to connect and reach out to me, feel free. You can message me in this chat. You can go on my website at topcommedia.com. That's my agency website. You can email me in my email, derekmclean@topcommedia.com. LinkedIn, even my Instagram as well. And just want to say thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Well, that was pretty helpful. So I did have a couple questions I want to ask, and I'll open it up to a couple people. But so when you start off a campaign and you don't know kind of keywords and things like that, I mean, how do you find those keywords? Like, are there tools, or do you just kind of start typing things into Amazon and then see what pops up? Like, how do you go about doing that?
Well, I always start with, I use Jungle Scout, but you can use any sort of tool. So the paid ones, the two popular ones are Jungle Scout, Helium 10. I think Zonbase has a keyword tool. And basically what those are just tools that scrape Amazon's data, and they show you the search volume for certain keywords. So you obviously want to find the ones that are most similar to your products and add those in. And another tip with that is, a lot of people, they do that, but then they take the whole list and just dump it in. You don't want to do that, because there's too many keywords. You're never going to be able to really track what's working. So take the ones that are most relevant to your product with a good search volume and put those into your campaign.
And how big do you want to make your campaigns with keywords? Like, is there a certain size limit? Is it 1,000 words? Is it 500, 2, 3, 7? Like, what do you see works really well?
It really depends on the size of the brand. Because if you're a small, or the size of the seller, because if you're a smaller seller, you're not going to have the budget to test 500, 1,000, keywords. It's just realistically, no, it's just not realistic. So for a smaller seller, you want to start with maybe, or you can start with maybe 15. Do 5 of one sort of keyword niche, 5 of another, 5 of another, and build off of that. Because even within those, let's say 15 keywords, you still have 3 match types in those keywords. So it can really start to spread out with just a few keywords.
Okay. And then, so you were talking about, so if you do a keyword to, I don't know, say baby rattle,
Maybe
and
what?
baby rattle, like a
Oh,
rattle,
like a rattle,
right?
yeah.
And you have image, copy, things like that. Do you need to change your images and copy if you have, say, that keyword baby rattle that's kind of getting some traffic but no sales? I mean, how do you go about doing stuff like that?
Yes, I definitely would add a keyword that is converting in there.
Hmm.
So if there was like blue baby rattle and that was driving a bunch of sales and that wasn't in your listing, I would throw that in. For keywords that aren't converting, I would personally kind of look where I'm ranking for that keyword on Amazon. Um, if I'm like on the first page for it, then I would leave it because if it's on the first page, it's a good thing. It's probably getting organic sales. So yeah, I would just kind of look at it like that.
Okay. Okay. I'll open it up. Anybody have questions for Derek? Please, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Yeah, Kevin, or maybe they wanted to be privately, sorry. Um, but a person messaged me, what do I consider to be a good ACoS? And that pretty much depends on your product's profit margin. Um, what you basically just need to know, just this is very generally speaking, but you basically just need to know what is your break even profit margin and stay under that. So if your profit margin is 50%, you want to make sure your ACoS is under 50%. So that's just a very general way to look at it.
Does Amazon have any kind of algorithm for their pricing like Google AdWords does, where if more people click on it, you get a better price per click, or people buy, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's what if you use their automatic targeting, they will choose the placements um and you can even set your bids to Amazon to price them as well. And yes, supposedly, I mean, I don't know their algorithm, like I know it, but they claim that yes, if your product does convert better, you should be getting a cheaper cost per click. Hi, could you go over an example for a product? Could you elaborate an example? A PPC example? Um, so an example would be, I'll use Rice Krispie treats again. Um, so if I'm selling Rice Krispie treats, I would break it up into brand campaign and non-brand campaign. So my brand campaign would be all of my brand keywords. So Rice Krispie treats, snacks, Rice Krispie treats for kids. Those would be my brand keywords. For my non-brand keywords and my non-brand campaign, it would just be like uh, or maybe just like snacks for lunches, snacks for my kids, snacks for like the holiday, like something like that. And I usually try to break it up into like keywords that are similar. So like I would have a snacks campaign or ad groups, and I would have like lunches ad group or campaign. Just kind of break it up like that. I hope that answered your question.
Totally unrelated, but since you mentioned Rice Krispie treats so much, I don't know if you ever heard of the copywriter Gary Bencivenga. He was considered the top copywriter in the world for years. He retired about 10 years ago, but he told a story about they ran a contest to come up with a slogan for Rice Krispies, and Gary Bencivenga's father sent in the Snap Crackle Pop one and won the contest.
Oh,
Just
yeah, that is a fun fact. I didn't know that, but I mean, it's definitely a good one. Everybody knows that little phrase, and it's been like relevant for years. So
yeah, so there's another question here on relevance. I have heard that that the more relevant your product is with the associated key terms, you pay less and you win that term and you move up for a cheaper bid. I've heard. You see the question, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and that's supposed to be true by Amazon, and the reason that is because they basically want to make their customers happy. So if they see your product if they see customers are clicking on your product and not buying it, Amazon's basically saying, well, you should pay. They're basically trying to make you pay more to not advertise anymore. And it's for vice versa. If they see that customers do like your product, they'll be like, okay, keep advertising. We're giving you a discount. That's kind of the mentality.
What about, I don't know, do we cover this, but AOC or ad cost, A cost, like what makes a good ad cost? An A cost, should I say?
Yeah. So what makes a good ACOS, just simply getting a sale without spending a lot of money. And basically, usually what that is finding what's called a long tail keyword, which would be a more descriptive keyword of your product that not as many people are bidding on or advertising on. So cereal would be a very general word, but if you're specifically advertising on the word keto friendly organic cereal, that's a much longer tail keyword. And that's usually going to have a much smaller PPC cost. So if you can get a bunch of those in your campaigns, that can significantly decrease your ACOS.
Right. And then like building out your campaigns, like how long does it usually take? I mean, is there a time frame to it? Like, does it take a half an hour, an hour? I mean, what's the keyword research like? Like,
I get that a lot, and it's really hard to say. Because I would say, so pulling a keyword report, I would say maybe like 3 hours from in the start, because what I like to do is I go to the Jungle Scout, download a keyword report. Then once I download it, I'll put it in Excel, and I will separate the keywords into categories. So like, let's say like organic cereal, keto cereal, and healthy cereal. I'll pull out all the words with organic, keto, and healthy and put those in their own categories. Then I'll take those and put those into Amazon, and then in their own ad groups or campaigns, and then maybe do some negatives. So maybe like 2 to 3 hours at the start.
okay. Questions?
Does this work with Amazon?
I'll give it two part again. Do the ads affect the buy box, and do you automatically get a buy box if you're doing an ad and someone clicks on it?
No, that's a very good question, and no. So yeah, the answer is no. So you can have sellers on your listing while you're running ads and they're getting the sales, and vice versa. You can be on a listing not spending any money on ads, and whoever owns the listing is running ads getting you sales. So they're not you don't have to be running ads to get the sale.
Are there any tips for getting the buy box?
That is more about pricing. So I think the biggest tip would just be price competitively. and then have your account has to be in like good standing. Like basically you ship orders out on time, or you don't have any like flags in your account.
What about spending? Like, how much should you bid to start out with? Like, do you want to bid $10 on an ad and then just, I know you're not going to pay that, but
Mm-hmm.
do you want to, how is the best way to get the most traffic, possible with Amazon when you're doing bidding for keywords or your campaign?
Yeah, I personally like to bid low in the beginning because
Mm.
you just don't know what's going to convert and what's not. Um, However, if you're trying to get the most traffic, um, you obviously want to bid high. So you would at least want to do what Amazon recommends, because they always have that recommended price. You would at least want to do that. And you would also want to do lots of keywords and lots of match types. That will definitely get you to spend the most for like a specific type of keyword. And then obviously the higher you bid, the more auctions you'll win, which would most likely mean more clicks.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I was going to ask you something on that. So in terms of campaigns, are there endless amounts that you can build out? I mean, would you say, or do you have you can have a campaign filled with tons, right? So is there a set amount you would, start off with or work your way up to, or how many accounts have you built out to and before when you're working for some of those larger things?
Oh yeah, for the larger ones, those got really big because there was tons of campaigns because they were basically broken out. So there was basically a brand side and a non-brand side, and within that there was also campaigns for like flavors of products. So one of Kellogg's brands was Pringles. We would make a brand campaign for each flavor. So like Pringles Original, that's one brand campaign. Pringles Sour Cream and Onion, Pringles. So for each one, we would have one for each flavor. And then for non-brand, we would kind of break it into certain keywords. So there would be a chips campaign. There would be a salty snacks campaign. We would just, for the bigger accounts, you would break out a lot. But if you're a medium or smaller seller, you don't need to do that much. You want to get more granular, and that way you can get more accurate data from where you're spending your money.
What about like products wise that you've seen? Do all products do well with search, or is it, are there some better than others that do have better conversion rates?
I noticed with very expensive products, it's you really have to be very patient with, because they cannot sell for like 4 or 5 days, but when they sell, it's a huge order, and your ROAS is like 17, like 17. So expensive products, I would say you have to be very patient. Very cheap products, you have to be super like meticulous with the ACoS, because usually your profit margin is much smaller. So I feel like anything can kind of sell well, especially now. I've noticed sellers have been doing very well on Amazon with everything going online. So even products that you probably would not expect to do well are doing very well online.
Mm-hmm. And what about like setting up your campaigns? Are there tools you use, or you just use Amazon's interface? Like, what's the best way to go about doing that?
So for the larger agencies, we use a tool called Kenshu. I don't think most people will be using this because it's like just a big agency tool, but it basically just allowed us to create like Amazon, Google, and Bing campaigns all at once, so we wouldn't have to make like 3 different. But yeah, now I mostly just create them in Amazon's interface, and just doing kind of like what I said. I always start with a PPC report, or I use like a Jungle Scout report, download it, and just set her up.
Mhm. A question from Sally. She said that she heard it's not good to launch products in Q4. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. That is a good question. I actually kind of think it would be kind of good. Just because of yeah, it's all relative. Because some products will take off in Q4, and Q4 is going to have the most demand. So even if you have a crap product, you know, your competitors might be sold out and you're the only one they have to go to. So you might get all those sales. So if anything, it could be good because just the demand is there. I wonder why, or I wonder what was the reason someone told you why it's not good.
I think because they said it's very competitive, right? Everyone's trying to rank, and they're doing a lot of advertisements. So I haven't sold anything, but I was about to, but then I got scared when I heard that, like, don't launch anything in Q4.
I can understand. I mean, I guess I can understand that perspective. If anything, I would just say, like, kind of be early. Like, don't try to launch like a Christmas product, December, like 25th. Like, obviously, you're too late. But
Right.
if you want to launch like a holiday themed product, get ready. I would say you should be ready like now, or maybe not now, but you should be in talk to your supplier early because everything's going to take longer. You're going to have hiccups. You're going to get your listing made. So I would just say, just be like on time and early for Q4 and Black Friday.
Yeah, I mean, AA said that it's all relative, and they launched a product line and it boomed, and it boomed for Christmas.
Exactly.
But I can tell you that for like Halloween stuff and things like that, people really buy ahead. I mean, I don't know about this year, but with dog-based clothing and things like that, I mean, we would sell out on that stuff, like by September, right? By October, it's too late for the holiday stuff, but it's sold out. So on that, John, who is just joined us.
Sorry about that. Hi, Derek. I'm John.
Partner over here. He came in late, but John, maybe you can answer the fourth quarter question about launching products in Q4. What's your thoughts on that? Because you
right, and probably to echo what Derek was saying, you don't want to do it too late. You want to do it as early as possible. Even from a planning stage, making sure that you know the product, you know your description, your keywords, the fact that you're going to have a supply chain ready, and Q4 can be all year round. I mean, at some point, what we look at is Christmas. Christmas is something that we sell all year round. Halloween, we were starting to sell things for Halloween 2-3 months ago. So again, echoing what Derek was saying and what Andrew was saying is that from that standpoint, Q4 can really take hold even now. But launching a product, I would say at some point, Q4 is great if you can do it at the beginning, but even just launching a product and knowing what you have in mind of your end result, because you can launch a product that's intended for spring or summer, at the end of Q4, because it's not really for Q4, but you just want to get going and you want to get the listing right, the inventory right, and understand your process. So again, echoing what Derek said is all true for Q4 for product launch and how you want to achieve that. Hey, Derek, where are you located out of? Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I'm from Chicago.
Chicago.
Always been in Chicago.
So actually, Andrew keeps bringing people who are close by because last week it was Toronto, this week it's Chicago. I'm out of Ann Arbor.
Oh,
So
nice. That's not far.
no, it's not.
That's not far at all. I love
So
Michigan.
he likes the Midwest people.
Yeah, it seems like where everybody is. Hey, Derek, question: when you're like organizing your campaigns, do you use spreadsheets? Like, how do you put your keywords? How do you organize that so that you know what's kind of going? Do you track all that stuff? Like, what's the best way that somebody maybe is not using K-Shaw, is it, or
Kenshu?
Kenshu? Yeah, if you're not using that, what's the best way to like sort of organize yourself?
I would say Excel. Yeah, I would say Excel, and I usually make a separate sheet for separate like keyword types. So if I go into my search term report, I'll pull out the download report, and then I'll use like the filter in Excel and just take out all the keywords for a specific like type of keywords and put that in its own sheet. It's another one in its own sheet. That way it just kind of, I think you want to advertise with your keywords very grouped into similar keywords. I don't like having like all the different ways that my product can be described in the same really campaign. I like to have them separate because the way people search for them is going to have a different conversion rate and ACOS.
That's helpful on that. There was a follow-up question to that I was going to ask you. And I forgot to write down my notes because I was just like listening.
Is it about setup?
Yeah, the setup on that. So what's the best way about going about setup?
I would say use your campaigns more for budgets because that's where you can actually shut off and make different budgets. And also use the campaigns and or ad groups for those keyword groupings. So maybe your colors or flavors or whatever the product is. Just try to keep those separate, at least in the ad group, but possibly campaigns too if you have like a specific budget for those groups.
What about killing your ad? Like, when do you know to kill an ad or a keyword to some sort of to a product?
I guess it depends on your goal because if you're trying to rank a product, then you might not care about the ACOS. You're just like, I'm just trying to get on this page, so spend away. So in that situation, you would probably just want to kill it you wouldn't even want to kill it, but once you got on the page that you were trying to get to for that keyword, then you can maybe scale it back. But if you're already like more stable on Amazon, maybe want to kill it if it was just like completely unprofitable. But even with that, you may not even have to kill it. You can just really, really, really lower your CPCs.
Okay. And then, so you talked about goals, right? So is it important to come up with a goal when you're thinking about starting to do paid ads? I mean, or is it just like fire away? Like what's the best way about that?
Yeah, I think I think that can be putting the cart before the horse for some people. Like, especially if you're a beginner, you kind of just want to get started and run them to figure it out. But once you're maybe selling, you kind of want to think of a goal like, oh, do I want to like maybe just rank this product on other keywords? Or I just want it to be more stable and have my PPC ACOS be this much. I think it just kind of depends where you are. For the beginners, maybe just get your feet wet and run them a little bit.
Cool. John, you have any questions?
You might have talked about this already. When you are thinking about your PPC campaigns, what do you start with? I mean, if you were to boil it down and say, am I looking at a set number of keywords for each campaign, and then I'll blossom it out from there? Am I thinking more category? Am I thinking product? What what do you look at first when you're starting to create pay-per-click campaigns?
Yeah, I think I just try to look at the most common way or most common and with the most search volume of what customers will buy my product for. So I said that earlier, like I feel like a lot of people that make a mistake will just be downloading every keyword on Helium 10 and plugging it into a campaign. It's like, no, your product is not relevant for everything that they came up with, but maybe take the top 10 or so and really make that your campaign.
So then if you were to take your top 10, do you ever decide that, well, and depending on, competition otherwise, do you start to ratchet down where long tail keywords, being able to almost get out of the most competitive keywords to get into other ones that would be more help or less competitive, yet and give better results? Is that part of your strategy, or are you still looking at just trying to hit top tier keywords?
I personally I like to get those long tail keywords back in as soon as possible, because to me it's almost like free money, not free money, but it's like cheap money. So like, why aren't you going to advertise on it? If you're going to make that whatever profit on that keyword, make that profit and put it back into the campaign. So I like to pull out the longer tail keywords as soon as possible.
So then one other thing, and this comes from one of my Amazon groups that I'm in, which they do a lot of RAOA. But the idea is that to Derek's point, you want to get in and you really want to start thinking about your campaigns and doing pay-per-click. But the other part of this is you really just should be doing pay-per-click. If you have products on Amazon, so you almost just start with running 3 and 5 cent ads, because again, as much as long tail keywords are free money, 3 and 5 cent ads can be free money also, because the more often you're in there, in my group, people get significant amounts of sales from having 3 and 5 cent ads that are somewhat generic, without doing much to it, but they're trying. And again, it kind of comes down to the old adage: you got to play to get paid. And so, that's also a way to see. There's some other strategies of I forget. It's the golden gaps, but the way that you find golden gaps is that you have, as Derek is showing, you got to have the data to start looking at, and running ads gives you that data for your products.
Yeah,
so.
and that's exactly right. That's why even when you ask when to kill an ad, like you may not have to just put your bids extremely low, because maybe if you're running a 3 cent ad and someone buys it, the conversion rate's going to be, or not conversion rate, but the A cost would be good because it's only 3 cents.
So that's again, Gary, this is outstanding, and being able to drive traffic and sales. I mean, it's very much like Facebook ads and running the same thing. You're running traffic to your product with a huge Amazon crowd of buyers, and just people are killing it. Again, other different strategies you could also use with this, but it's just understanding that the basics of PPC will do anyone well in any way that they're selling on Amazon.
I think it's important when you're launching a product. I mean, you do product giveaways, you can try and get your rankings, but the quickest and fastest way is obviously paid search to get up there and try and get sales. And then hopefully that moves your product up organically as people buy, right? I mean, that's kind of the goal between paid search is to, like you're saying, dial it back eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. Awesome. Well, I know we're coming to the end of this hour. I do appreciate everything. It's late where Derek is. I do appreciate you coming on board, sharing that slide. I'll make this recording available to the group on our Facebook group, as well as the slides you sent me. And then if people want to get back to you, I'll just knock that stuff out as well. Into the group as well, so people can contact you from there as well. But I do appreciate that for coming on. I know John and I are going to talk about fourth quarter next week, so to answer those questions, so we'll do that stuff. But until that time, you'll see another confirmation coming up. Thanks for everybody for showing up. You can join our Facebook groups, and that would be great. And then you get more data on that. And again, Derek, thanks so much for your time and your knowledge and sharing with everybody.
Yep. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Great.
Thanks,
Awesome,
Derek.
guys. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.